Oh, Josh, we're not that far away, just about a month away from hockey training camp starting, and we're joined now by the radio voice of the Philadelphia Flyers, the radio analyst, my buddy, my pal, Steve Coates. Coatesy, how are you on this Thursday?
Really good, Peter, Josh. Great to be with you guys today.
What did you shoot? Let's get the particulars out of the way. Was it a match?
You're assuming I played golf. No, you're assuming I played golf. It was not a very pretty day today out here, but it'll get better tomorrow.
Well, you're always under par at the 19th hole, and I know that, so God bless you, pal. Let's talk a little Flyers hockey. It seems like it hasn't been that long since they lost to the Washington Capitals in 6 games in the first round, but it's almost time to start seeing what's coming back. Maybe the first topic is an easy topic, that they did sign Brayden Schenn, and is he on the rise, in your opinion?
Well, I think if he can continue the way he played at the end of the season, I think that would be spectacular. I've always said that Brayden Schenn is a better player if he's physical, and he was really physical against Washington. In fact, he's going to serve a suspension to begin this season. But I think that Brayden Schenn has been brought along very nicely by Ron Hextall. No pressure. I think that they did a nice job of signing him a contract to make him feel better about himself. But I think he's still got to be a guy that's got to come night after night. He sometimes is a little inconsistent, but if he comes and plays physical, that will make him a better player.
It used to be, Coatsy, that the method to success in the NHL was you had your starting goalie play the lion's share of the games, and then every so often, if you had back-to-backs or something, the other guy got work. Because you mentioned Ron Hextall, and I think about how many games he played his rookie season, or in '87, I think that was. How about the Flyers and their stability in goal? Do you think they have what they're looking for now?
Yeah, I truly believe that our goaltending is very strong right now. And I think that Mace had a little bit of a blip there in that one game against Washington. It didn't help him. But I think that both of them understand their positions. I think that goaltenders, especially number one goalies, like to feel that they're the number one goalie. And I think Mason has that with the Flyers, and I think that having them back as a tandem, I think both of them will be very productive this year.
Now, I know one of the things that brings such optimism for the Flyers, Coatsy, is their pipeline and basically the prospects that are coming up. Everybody remembers what Shane Gostisbehere did last year, and some of the names that are on the horizon of Sam Morin or Travis Sanheim or Provorov is probably the name that most people are mentioning the most. Which of the names of basically that next group do you most want to see?
Well, I think defensively, I think that the Flyers are as strong as anybody right now, and kids coming up that in the next couple of years could really make a statement. Obviously, Sam Morin, I kidded him. We did an interview, and I said, how tall are you now? And he goes, I'm 6'8" now. I mean, he's 6'8", and he's mean. And I like that in a defenseman. I think that mobility might be a little bit of a question, but that's something the guy 6'8", you just learn. Like Chara learned how to play the game. And I think Sam Morin's learning to play the game in the American Hockey League. I think when you take a look at Travis Sanheim, what a difference I saw in him from last year to this year in just his size, his weight, mannerism. I mean, he's become a man very, very quickly. So he's a guy that I think that could surprise a lot of people at training camp. When you talk about Provorov, you're talking about the best defenseman in Canadian junior hockey last year. You talk about, when you talk to anybody in hockey circles, he was the best player at the World Juniors last year. So there's really nothing for him back at junior. But that creates a problem for Ron Hextall, because Hexy is a great believer that you got to go to the minors to learn. Well, he can't go to the minors. He's at an age yet that you either play in junior or you play in the National Hockey League. So I know that Hexy's really adamant about that type of attitude, but I think the training camp will dictate what's going to happen there. If Provorov puts on a show and just forces Hexy's hand, then Hexy won't have to answer to anybody else. Say, listen, I got no choice. This kid's playing. He's the guy, and we're going to let him play.
Hey, Steve, I had a question about, it is not directly related to the prospects, but I'm kind of curious because with the NHL expansion coming and all these rules are coming out of who you can and can't keep on the roster, how do you think that's going to impact the team next year moving forward?
You know, Josh, that's a good question. I haven't really taken some time to take a look at it as far as, you know, the amount of time left on contracts. There's a lot of things, a lot of working parts here, because you got number of years left, number of dollars towards the cap, the age of the individual players. There's a lot of moving parts. So I would imagine they're going to start working on that now that the expansion's happened. I haven't had the opportunity to take a look at that yet. But with all these young players coming, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, a lot of young players. There's some good players coming up in this system.
Steve, I know the one rule the NHL has put out is that with the expansion, you're only allowed to protect one goalie. So if it was your choice, which goalie would you protect?
Oh,
that was Josh that asked that.
That's a really... Well, guess what? I would say after last year, they were both equal to me. I mean, I thought they both had some strong points. Mason really did a heck of a job in the last part of the year. But I would say on value alone, you'd have to keep Mason.
Steve Coates is with us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Well, we'll wrap up with a couple of questions, maybe key questions facing them as they go into this season. Where does the offense come from, Coatesy? They were 22nd in the league last season, second fewest among the teams that made the playoffs. Did sign Dale Weiss, but there's obviously some returning guys they hope will step up too. Where does that offense come from?
Well, I think, first of all, with Dale Weiss coming in, I mean, he's a good player. I mean, I was very disappointed that Ryan White didn't re-sign here. I was really just, I really love Ryan White. I think he was a hockey player. I thought he was a hockey player. But they bring a guy named Boyd Gordon, comes in, and he's a journeyman. He can play the center spot. They love his ability to be able to take face-offs. Weiss is going to be on the wing. I think that with Gordon going in there, that you'll have Van de Velde along with Belmar as your fourth line. After that, I think when you take a look at the Schenns of this world, you've got to look for him to up himself to 25, 30 goals a year. Who's going to play in the left wing is the big key for me with both not with Richards, but with Giroux and
Zimmer.
Voracek. Those are the guys that got to start coming to play. Wayne Simmons, you know you're going to get the same amount of play from him. Couturier is a question mark to me because what is he? Is Couturier a second-line center or a third-line center? He's at that point now where he's either got to step it up and be that guy that everybody expects him to be and play that second-line position, because I think if that happens, then he'll provide a lot more offense for you. Nick Cousins, between him and Nick Cousins, I think is a guy that really filled in really, really well last year. But at the same time, we're not that big at that position, and I don't know if he's the guy that's going to be in that center position at the third line if Couturier plays at that second position. Those are the number of people you're looking at as far as the type of goal-scoring kind of offensive people you need.
We're spending a few minutes with Steve Coates, and I'll wrap things up, Coatesy, by first acknowledging your White reference and your Ryan White reference. I know that Hexie really wanted him back, and they wanted him back, and even the day of, like when it got to that point, they tried one last-ditch effort to get him, and I guess it just came down to money. But Ron Hextall's gone on the record as saying that they wanted Ryan White back, and they were sad to see him go. I guess I'll wrap up with my last question of saying, can they get the old Jake Voracek back? What does Jake need to do to bounce back to his pre-contract form?
Well, Jake's a guy that is very methodical about what he does. He goes away to Montreal during the summer to do a real hard 2 weeks and make sure that he's in good shape. I think that when he's one of those guys that if he's in really, really good shape, that's when he's at his best. You can see he's up on his skates, he's moving, he's doing all the things you need to be. And I think that he comes back, because there's no fine line with him. And if he is at like that 9%, 10% body fat area, then he's going to be at his best. So he, along with Giroux, Giroux's a guy that's hurt or was hurt, had hip surgery. He should be back, and she should be healthy. And these guys are the guys that are going to carry the freight. And if you get the Brayden Schenn's jumping in and doing a good job, if Konechny makes the hockey club, which I don't think he would, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen. And, when you go to training camp in this world today, you come to make the hockey club. And if there's a few surprises to make this team better, I think everybody would be happy.
Well, it's no surprise that you brought your A game for us again, and we appreciate that. Steve Coates with us on August the 18th, mind you. We're just about a month away from them lacing it up and getting training camp started, but we appreciate you coming on with your mid-season form no matter when we call. Thank you, Pud.
My mid-season form. Is that where I was?
You were mid-season.
Gosh, it's a pleasure. Always a pleasure, and you guys, and I look forward to talking to you when we start training camp. We're a week late this year because of the World Cup, so sit back and enjoy the World Cup. It's going to be a lot of fun.